Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Freelance Friday. Today is Friday, April 22nd, 2022. It is Earth Day. And welcome, Saba. Yes, you are present and you are number one. Of my soul beats only for you. This is my Friday music. You are everything. You're the flowers of the spring. You're full moon in the dark. You're my heart and my soul. Okay, I'm gonna get started. No, it's not. I will tell you who this is by. I have to look it up. So, welcome everyone. Today, Butterfingers, and this topic was provided by our friend Saba. And thank you for sharing the show. And okay, so Saba and I were talking, and all Butterfingers is giving your children candy. Is it child abuse? Is it abusive? Is it abuse to give your child candy? And Saba actually gave me a different take on this, and I saw where she was going, and I went there with her because she made a lot of sense. So, with that note, Saba, I'm going to ask you to come up on the panel, and I know other people will trickle in. It is a Friday night for some. And if you want to come up and we can start this conversation.
All right. Well, give me just a second. I wanted to share the show some more. I just have like one more.
No problem. Welcome, AHK. We're going to talk about is giving your children candy child abuse. So.
All right. And then, then we went off on a whole branch of things.
Okay. Well, let's not get too deep because this is Friday night.
Not right away, anyway. So, we'll ease them into it. How about that? I'm just kidding. I'll try not to go too deep. I'll try. But that's why I like a structured show, because then I can stay on topic.
Okay. I need you to mute yourself for a moment because I'm getting the echo. No, I mean, welcome out, Alpha Mike. No, I mean, I understand. Don't worry. My shows are very structured and we don't have people talking over each other or anything like that. But, you know, your topic when we were talking earlier, and we covered a lot of ground, it's interesting. It's interesting on what you say in terms of giving your child candy. So I'm just going to let you explain what you're talking about.
Okay. I plugged my headphones in. Does that sound better?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Where do I start? So I think we started talking about mercury in teeth.
Yes.
Excuse me. And then it got me thinking about, well, how do we get to this point? And then it made me think of, how I got to the point of having mercury put in all my molars. And then I remembered that my mother allowed me to eat Butterfingers when I was a child, and amongst other things, of course. But I think that that was really the culprit. It's the reason why my molars are all filled with mercury. And then I was remembering how high fructose corn syrup came into play, and then it got me thinking, about candida, how it's, the leading cause of obesity. And candida is caused by an overgrowth of yeast in the gut, which yeast in the gut occurs naturally. But now that, all this sugar has been introduced into our diets, it has overgrown and taken over and causes multiple health issues that we deal with today. And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, what did you say about giving kids candy? You said in moderation, right? You're like, well, in
Right.
moderation, but even then, sugar is so addictive. And the conglomerates, the people who've implemented, these all these sugary foods, they were well aware of that. And uh, like, if we learn a little bit more about it, and I'm sure a lot of people know that it's bad for you, so then that made me think about how it's child abuse giving children candy.
But can I push back for a moment? Well, I'm not going to put. Well, I am. Well, first of all, you do have a point because when you go to the market, all of the sugary foods and snacks and cereal and everything, that's all on the bottom shelf. And of course, that's designed for if you have your kid with you, they're going to want, you know, all the junk food. Um, but let me push back on you in the sense that um, I did let my son eat sweets in moderation, but my son is going to be 22 in June. He's never had a cavity, and one reason probably is because I was always telling him brush your teeth, brush your teeth, brush your teeth. Um, Even when he had braces on his teeth, when I thought that that's when he's really going to get issues with his teeth, he didn't. So does that play a factor? I'm just pushing back. I'm just playing both sides here.
Okay, so what actually led to this conversation in particular was how you were saying that I hope you don't mind me saying um, that about what you said about humans.
Oh,
You
right.
remember, right?
About humans.
And
Mm-hmm.
and how they should be wiped out and we should start over and be at the bottom of
Mm-hmm.
the chain.
Mm-hmm.
But then I said, well, it's not really all our faults, because a lot of us didn't do the research. It took us a long time to come to the realization that this was really, really, really bad for us. And by then it was too late because it was part of our culture, right?
Right. But man is the one who invented sweets. They're the ones who invented the Butterfingers and the uh, uh, Milky Ways and cookies and all that other stuff. So isn't it
Okay.
our fault?
Okay. Well, I mean, so if we're going even just a little bit deeper, just a little bit, um, we actually were all talking about, like, civilizations and how they've been reset.
Mm-hmm.
And then I mentioned, well, it's innovation and stuff like that brought us to this point of population. And it started with the enslavement of animals.
But but I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I'm looking at what Alpha Mike just said. Sour Patch you can have. Reese's, I don't know. I might take that one. Um, so
And then but my main point was that I think that there is something or someone that is either superhuman or beyond human that that is behind a lot of the nefarious things that brought us to this point of having mercury in our teeth, being glued to our phones, being obese, and all that Sodom and Gomorrah stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Well, right, right. In fact, now that you said about the cell phones, because I did make a comment to you earlier today that I always talk on speakerphone. Very rarely do I put the phone up to my ear because I do have a concern with all that radioactive stuff. Shouldn't be too close.
And then we look at the
So,
patent for the
right.
television.
Mm-hmm.
And so if a nervous system manipulation device is not nefarious to you, I don't know what to say. Not to you, but people in general, because that's what the patent title says for televisions.
Yes.
So I'm thinking that it's really a lot of this stuff really isn't our fault as humans. Humanity's nature, I don't believe, would have come up with that.
But humans are the ones that invent all of the things that are destructive. You don't see an elephant in inventing a gun or inventing, you know, cars that 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 pollute the air. I mean, you don't see animals doing things that humans do. You don't see them throwing trash, when you go to the beach, you don't see them throwing trash, on the ground. And I mean, they don't do that.
Right? But who made the trash? Who came up with the resources necessary to build the technology that we use today?
Humans.
Okay, well, okay, so who okay, so what is in our phones that we didn't have like in the back in the day before all this innovation?
You talking about
Let's
like
see.
just when you just
Well,
had
we don't.
regular phones, like from
No, no,
the
no, 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 no. Okay, so you know how there was like large trees that were excavated long time ago? There's
right.
like pictures of it. And before that, there's evidence of larger trees, and their roots have been excavated for the precious resources like silicon and quartz, which is necessary to create the technology that we use today, like our cell phones and our televisions and all the digital stuff. um, like who knew about that? Like what? How did someone just one day go, oh, I think that whatever's inside those trees we can use for this technology in the future? Where is the link between that
So where do
and
you where do you
humanity as
think
it
the link
was?
is? Where do you think the link is?
It has to be beyond human, something that knew something about
Okay,
it.
so I am going to take a stretch here, okay? And I'm being
Hmm.
very, very serious. All right.
Hmm. Hmm.
Do you believe that there is life other than on Earth? Not necessarily saying aliens or anything like that, but do you think that there's other life forms other than Earth who could be doing this?
First
Or
of all,
or
what
you know
is
what? We know what? I'm not even going to say on Earth. I am going to say, do you believe that there are other life forms other
mm,
than what we know in this universe?
like other, like more ancient humanoid like races?
Either that or uh something or someone who is more advanced, and we're just, humans. We automatically assume that, we're the most advanced. But do you believe that there is another
Yes,
species?
yes, I do.
Okay.
And I think that they either live for a really long time, a lot longer than we do, or they're immortal. And
Okay. So
mhm,
when you see pictures of, stick men and everything on like caves and what have you, do you think that that came from humans or maybe another life form that was here thousands and thousands and millions of years before us?
well, what are caves? They are holes in the side of mountains, but what are mountains? They are tree stumps. We are beings of the tree, okay? And so we probably did make those when they were invading our land.
I'm following you up to a point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm following you. I'm following you up to a point, because the bottom line is there, for us to be where we are now, there had to have been something or someone's, um, who got us to this point, who got us to society as we see it now.
Mm-hmm.
So who was it?
Well, some speculate that it was the Anunnaki. Um, there's other people that are very, very much smaller group, speculate something more like prehistoric, or something that utilizes uh, like magic, like for example paganism. That there's a lot of belief in magic and stuff like that. So it could be more mystical, or it could be more evolutionary, or it could be otherworldly.
Okay, let's. Okay, I don't. I want to read what Alpha Mike says. He says, "We were advanced, but dumbed down a lot." Do you believe that?
Um, so I believe that we have very intelligent life among the human race, but whatever stepped in um, created a wave of innovation, and therefore room to become more intelligent, and so on and so forth. And then with what goes up must come down. And also, when a population grows to a certain point with any organism, the lifespans begin to shorten for each individual. And so there's a lot of things that play into that, but it created a wave of up and down. How about that?
Okay, so let's interject candy back into this conversation. So candy is a or sugar is addictive. It is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so do you think that sweets is like programming people at a young age, because most children like sweets?
Well, it's definitely being marketed to the children with the packaging, and where they place it inside the store, and they make it all fun. And like they have Halloween where kids would go and get candy. They make it fun. What, like, if you're trying to get a child's attention, you got to make it fun. So it is definitely, you know, geared toward children. And then what ends up happening is they develop all these health issues, and also, probably get, dumbed down in the process.
Dumbed down in what way?
Yeah. Well, like, I can't imagine that sugar would make you smarter.
Okay. Okay. So do you think that if you did a study on, and this may have happened, I don't know, um, where one person uh, um, ate a lot of candy every single day of their life. They all they did was eat candy. I mean, but they still ate, other things. They still had, their spinach and their broccoli and all that. But then you had someone who never ate candy. Do you think that the person who did not eat candy would have a higher IQ than the person who did eat candy every day?
So that question I can't answer. Well, what I mean by dumbing down is, so okay, so how I have mercury in my molars.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it has been speculated that mercury can mess with your endocrine system, and sugar can also mess with your endocrine system. And so it's like I think that whoever it is knows something about that. And then look at the fluoride thing. Like, there's no health benefit to fluoride whatsoever. Why is it in our children's water, the kind that they sell by the gallon? Why is it in the water, period? Why are they giving it to our children to brush their teeth with? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you give the child candy, not only will you give them candida, which causes a whole number of health issues, but you mess with their sleep, and that's messing with the brain. Okay, and then you make it so they have to go to the dentist. Most likely they'll get mercury in their teeth. Back in the day, I don't know about anymore. That messes with it. And so it's just this whole number of things, and I think that it's just a good like starting point when we're diving into this realm of possibilities.
So, do you think that people, um, 600 years ago, back in 1600, were healthier than those children were healthier than the children today?
I do, but I mean, I don't know what exactly was going on back then, but I can imagine that they were.
Even with the diseases, that they have now. Granted, one thing that I definitely think, um, when you look at, like we were talking earlier today, you look at the McDonald's and the Wendy's and all this other crap, fast food that they put out. Um, you have, uh, things that I believe is causing cancer, and Lord knows what else you can get from just, going to Mickey D's. And I don't think they had that back then. But at the same time, I do believe that there were illnesses back then that have been that you don't see anymore now. So I think it's
Well, we can only read the textbooks at this point, but I mean, civilization survived whatever it was, if there was a thing.
so you think that my whole thing about just having God come down and wipe everything out, it is, and I'm very serious when I say when I say that. So, but do you think that that's just taking it too far?
Well, I think that you are on the same track as whomever it is that thinks that they are in charge of the human population. In the 1980s, they put up this stone monument in Georgia called the Georgia Guidestones. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
And the first thing that it says is that the population should be kept at 500 million people. Do you know about
Okay.
that?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And then also in the 1980s, high fructose corn syrup was introduced into the population in America and probably other parts of the world, but other parts of the world have actually banned, I believe, have banned high fructose corn syrup food products. And like America is like the stage of the world, so they say. And so if you're trying to conquer the world, right? There's a lot of different maneuvers that you're going to take, right?
Okay.
Or should we backtrack a little bit off of that? Where did you leave off?
I'm sorry. I was reading what Alpha Mike said.
Okay.
Can you repeat your question?
No, I was asking you to repeat your question.
I forgot my question.
That's okay. But okay, so what I'm getting at is we have an enemy. And I think that until, you know, we come to terms with that, everybody on earth, like whatever this reset is going to take place. But should it take place? According to you, it probably should, right?
I mean, I'm saying that, and I also want to comment because Alpha Mike brought up. Noah, but I think that it should take place, and only reason why I say that is I believe in God. I believe that there is a higher being, um, but I also believe that as you just look at the way the world is today, um, and just all the chaos that is going on, whether you want to talk about COVID, whether you want to talk about the war, just anything, people killing each other every day, mass shootings, whatever. Um, I think that humans, the human race, has gotten out of control. And the only way you're going to do a reset is literally to blow us all up and start over. And again, I say, put the animals at the top and humans at the bottom. And that's why that that one line that Sigourney Weaver says in Aliens, it has stuck with me for like 25 years. You don't see them fucking each other over for a goddamn percentage. And that's what
So,
humans do. We fuck each other over for a percentage. We're constantly doing it. Everybody is.
okay, so God, according to the Bible, God created humans and animals, and He put hierarchies upon that and all that stuff. And we talked about balance, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And then, so so do you think it would be healthy for us to absolutely wipe out the yeast in our guts?
Why not? I mean, and I'm gonna link what Alpha Mike says. He says, he says, I'll tell Noah to forget the shall not be stupid and use a turn signal. But just in terms of Noah, do you believe that, I mean, and as far as we know from what you read in the Bible, when Noah built his ark, the earth was still pretty new. I mean, this was still something new. Do you think that if you believe that Noah was a real person, do you think that God did a reset when he told Noah to put all the animals on two by two, and he supposedly wiped out everyone and started over?
No, I don't believe in that. And remember, the Bible is allegorical.
Yes,
I
it
think
is.
that story of Noah is a story put in place to explain something that they don't want to tell us about all the way. Okay? And I think that, the Bible was written just for that purpose.
I'm
And
thinking
so what I'm
because
saying
I'm
is we were already here, we were already in balance with our land, and something had to come along and pervert everything.
man. Man came along and
No,
perverted.
not
I mean,
man. I don't believe
I
that.
mean, okay, all right, but see, this is okay. This is why when you look, I mean, there's just so many things out there to read, and I guess it all comes down to what people believe. Because, like I said, I truly believe in the Bible. I don't take it literally. I mean, because you can't, but I do, believe that it is there as a guide. And again, if you look at Noah and if you believe that story, which I do, um, God did a reset. He saw that people were not living right, and he wiped them out. And then you look at Sodom and Gomorrah, when he's telling, Lot and his wife to leave and don't look back because, again, once again, man has just become, just, these horrible people. And he got rid of that place. I do believe that a reset is coming and is needed, and it's going to wipe us all out. I truly believe that. And I think it's coming sooner than later.
Okay. So we were made in God's image, according to the Bible. Now, what does that mean?
I think that God is a spiritual being, and each, and this is going to sound crazy. It's the only way that I can, because the only way that I can answer it without really sitting down and thinking about this. I think when you say God, that God created us in his image, that we are all. I mean, God looks like you. God looks like me. God looks like whomever. And we are all created to be a part of this world, to uh not I don't even want to use the word, to give something. We're all supposed to give something to this world. We're all supposed to have a little bit of him in all of us. That's what I think. If I'm trying to make sense here.
Well, we do have a lot of similarities in God with God. Like we can create life and we can take life. But I don't know about if he looks like me. I doubt he looks like me. And if that's the case, perhaps God is everything expanded.
Right. I
We
mean,
are
yeah,
all part of
I mean
God. We
that's
are God. The
I mean
stone
that's
is God.
well, that's basically what I was trying to say when I said that he is in all of us. Um, that's why when you um look at people who get facelifts and boob jobs, and just do all types of different things, whatever. For me, I'm looking at it like, well, if you're created in God's image, are you telling God that he was wrong? That he made a mistake and you are trying to correct it for him?
So what I'm saying is either we were made in God's image and something else came along, or that's that's not the truth. It's not the truth. We were not made in God's image. And because if God is so great, if you made a bunch of gods, right? Let's say you took God and you divided him into however many parts, and they were all individual people. Is that in God's image to become like what you're saying, to have to be wiped out, like you say?
I think that, well, yes, because, excuse me, I think that God is a spiritual being, and that he is someone who is, I mean, this is what I believe, that whoever you think God is, where you think he's the earth, the moon, the stars, whatever, he's looking down on us and seeing everything that we are doing. And I think that he is extremely disappointed. That is what I think. I No matter who you think God is, if you think God, is a bird, a tree, whatever, I think that God is looking down and he's extremely disappointed.
Okay. Well, so that may or may not be true. Okay. But the thing is, like, I know that when we're in a bind, when someone's in a bind, they pray to God. It's like a natural, either a natural or a learned behavior. I kind of lean on the side of learned behavior, but nevertheless, the Bible has been part of our civilization since we can remember. And uh, yeah, it is pretty deep, Frankie. But she invited me. But no, thing is, like, you can't have it both ways. you know you want to say, God is great and the Bible is 100% true, and everything, and then be, created in God's image, but then have the ability to become so bad that we need to be wiped out. So are you saying that we are different from God, or we're the same as God, and what would give him the right to do that? Then it doesn't, I feel like you can't have it both ways.
Well, no, I mean, but okay, you're saying that I can't have it both ways, or God can't have it both ways.
Everyone can't have it both ways. Like the idea can't be both ways. Like you can't say that God is the greatest thing, and and we should worship him, when we were made in his image, but now you think that we're so bad we need to be wiped out. Are you understanding what I'm trying to say?
No, I mean, no, I understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying that no matter who you think God is, that there's a disappointment. And you said yourself now earlier when we were talking, you said that that there have been resets throughout civilization. So again, I'm bringing up Noah. I think Noah was a reset. I think if you want to look at the pandemic of 1918, I think that was a reset. If you look at the Civil War, I think that was a reset. I think by us wiping each other out, or wars, or you know the Romans, all this other stuff, I think those were all resets that were building up to this point, that we had this reset, we still didn't get it right. We did this reset, we still didn't get it right. Now you have a man who is dropping bombs on people because he wants land. So is this all building up to the the a huge reset that's just going to wipe us all out?
Mm-hmm. So that's like a larger scale version of my Butterfinger theory. So we were created amongst everything else by God, in God's image. And then at some point something turned everything around, and we went from our natural state to a civilized state. And that became addictive because it allowed for a lot of other things, like being idle, um, and having more free time, being able to do more, think more, and create more. And and so, like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, there was somebody threw a Butterfinger into our human, or into mankind. You see where I'm going with this?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And when it comes to the Bible, I think that it's just a way to explain something without explaining it, so that you can manipulate something. That's what I feel about that. Like, the Bible, it has many truths. It could have many truths, but once you get, especially, the mass of, like, the critical mass of a population to completely trust in something, it becomes dangerous at that point. But that's not like my main point. My main point is that something not human brought us to the point of being overweight and having mercury in our teeth, and coming to the point where everybody, or a lot of people like you, would think that we need to be wiped out, self-loathing, you know and so that was my main point on that. But look, so if I'm saying, if everybody were able to come to this understanding, and then, scale it down a bunch, make different decisions, and we could, gain control, or balance in our environments with nature. Like, for example, abolishing candy, or just don't buy it. Don't give your children candy. You know?
But okay, let's say we took candy out of the mix, which would be fine. um don't you think that there would be something else that pops up that would take the place of candy? I mean, you have
Well,
you have alcohol, you have drugs, you have other things that are addictive.
mhm, and are detrimental to society. Yes. But we can't, like with Candida, you can't just turn it around overnight. It takes time for things to balance out. And then, there are things about humanity that, like the Bible will say is bad, that isn't. And that's why I'm so suspicious of the Bible, because it plays on angles of or aspects of humanity that creates more division than good.
Well, let
And
me. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Were when you were growing up, were you raised in the church? When I say in the church, I mean like, did you go to Sunday school and
Yes,
do
I
all?
had to go to Christian Sunday school, and on I think it was Saturdays I went to Catholic mass because my family
Okay,
was
so
divided into Catholic and Christian
okay, so you were
up until
raised
I was
Catholic.
13.
You were
Yeah,
raised Catholic.
and Christian,
Okay,
but I was
so
not baptized and I did not do First Communion.
okay, so when you were 13, what happened? Did you just make a decision you weren't going to be part of the church anymore?
I was given the option
Oh, okay, okay, and you chose to go the other way.
not go
Like,
anymore. Hmm.
all right. Is that because you thought that what they were teaching was wrong, or you didn't believe in it, or you thought something else, or you just didn't want to go?
Well, I could never adhere to it. It just is something I just couldn't. I couldn't. I don't know if I was misunderstanding everybody and everything, or honestly, they kind of spooked me. Like these adults were coming up to me all bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, demanding that I accept Jesus into my heart as my Lord and Savior, and give it all to God. And just there's a lot of things in the Bible and in the ideology that I just could not adhere to because it didn't sound right to me. I just could never believe like they did. And sometimes I would lie and say, yes, yes, I do, just to kind of get them off my back. But they honestly like scared me. I didn't trust those people. But there was this one. I don't know if he was. I can't remember if he was a pastor or who. He was some person in the church, but he said that he said, I think God made people like you to make sure that people like us don't get too far into our beliefs, like keep us on the surface of the water, so to speak, or whatever. And I accepted that. I was like, okay, fine, that's cool, because I did wonder why I didn't believe like everybody else. I felt always like very alone. As a little kid, my mind would be blown at the fact that I was in existence. I would try to think really, really hard about how and why I got here and all that crazy stuff. But the Christian and the Catholicism weren't really helping me much, to be honest.
Okay, I've always had a problem with the Catholic religion because I could never understand why you would go to confession and you are confessing to another human being. Um, that's one thing that I never understood, and why you're praying to Mother Mary as opposed to Jesus Christ. So that's something. Yeah, it's like you confess to this priest, and then this priest is supposed to be the in between you and God. I'm like, well, how come I can't go to God myself? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so okay, so let me ask this. So do you think that there is a such thing as, and I asked you this earlier, we were talking about end of days, but I'm going to change my wording a little bit. Do you think there's a such thing as um, the in the end of the world?
I
That
think that
one day it will come to an end.
like everything will be dead.
Everything is just gone. Yep, everything.
Uh, I don't know, because life in general has been adaptable to its environment. Uh, I guess, obviously since it started up until now, and things do change and evolve and adapt to its environment. So I don't know, like, unless, you know, our land that we live on stops producing um, life that grows like from it, then I don't know. I don't think I don't think I
Do
don't
you
think
think
so.
we'll ever get into Mad Max territory?
Yes, I do, and I think it'll be quite different than that. It'll be more transhuman type ideology or reality than Mad Max reality.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you another question, and this may seem crazy, but this is where my mind is going. Do you think that alternative, I don't want to know if I want to say universe or realities are possible? Do you think that there are these wormholes that are out there, and if you were to go into this wormhole, then you could be in 2022 and I could be, in 3030, or go back to 1776? Do you believe that wormholes exist?
I don't know about wormholes, but I do believe in an existential transfer of consciousness. Like, so I like to believe that after my body dies, my consciousness or my mind will become my transcendental vessel in which I will travel or move on through to the next level of consciousness. Or I guess you could call that a wormhole, but I don't think that a human being in a body can go through wormholes like that.
Why?
because because we don't just exist in this natural state. We have a soul, we have consciousness, we have a mind that can actually travel. And and I don't believe that it ends with the end of the body or the death of the body.
Okay, well then, if that's the case, then we've all have lived other lives. Like the Chinese believe that when they die, they will come back as someone else or something else. So in that case, then when we die, we've all been some someone or something else. I mean, and can can I validly say that? Because you have people who say, I feel like I've been here before, when you really never have. Or I feel like I know you, when you know you've never met that person. Did you meet them in a different life?
Mm-hmm. Well, what makes you think that us as humans, as we are today, isn't just well developed AI?
True, true. So
So,
if
or go ahead.
if that's the case, then as we were talking earlier, then there could be life on other planets. That the universe, I mean, the universe is vast. How do we know what is out there? I mean, how do we know? I mean, I've never been to outer space. I mean, I don't know what's out there.
Well, I think that as long as we believe in the globular model, we're never going to get to anywhere near answering that. There's a lot of problems with the globular model. One big one, for example, is the size of the moon. During a lunar eclipse, the shadow that the moon casts onto the Earth's surface with the sun behind it is smaller than what they say the size of the moon actually is. And did you know that all shadows are bigger than the object that's casting the shadow?
Well, yeah, yeah.
So basically, there's a lot of things that humans, that all people need to come to terms with. That, the biggest one is that we are being lied to about a lot of fundamental and very important things. And so we are led off these tangents of thoughts that don't even matter. We waste our time on that, and then we are further manipulated into whatever our enemy wants us to be. And honestly, like, if I'm being really, really honest, and I know sometimes I need to be careful around certain people, like, I don't think that we're created by God.
Well, no, I mean, I've heard people say that before. I've heard people say that they think man was created by energy. I mean, I've heard all kinds of different things. Um,
Perhaps
but
our soul was, you know. But as far as we go in bodily form today, I don't know if that's particularly true because just a lot of it just doesn't make sense. There's a lot of contradictions. And go ahead.
so okay, so let me ask this because years ago, and I mean years ago, a friend and I were talking about death, and I said I wanted to be cremated. And she said, "Why? If you're cremated, you won't go to heaven." And I said, "Well, your soul is the only thing that I'm concerned about. My body. Just like if I were in a casket, my body would just be in this box in in the ground. So, do you believe that? Do you believe that if you are cremated, then you may not go somewhere as opposed to if your body stayed intact?"
I used to think that there was something wrong with that, but I think that as a soul, just like, as a child, we could get addicted to candy. We could get it, or we could get addicted or attached to things and be tethered to them. And I think that's where, you know, um, like, ghosts, how they get their standing in our reality. They become attached to this realm. They can become attached to people and places and things. um, so I think that you know if we can come to terms with that possibility, and then make it a point not to be attached to our bodies and to this life and to everything that's here, then that's another step towards transcendence.
Okay.
So I don't think it really matters, but if it really mattered to you, then maybe it will matter to you. You know what I'm saying? It'll affect you.
Well, I don't know if it was you that I asked. I don't know who I asked, but I was talking to someone a couple of weeks ago, and I asked them, "Do you believe in magic?" And they said yes. Um, and you just brought up ghosts, and I'm sorry, Casper just popped into my head, but um, do you believe in ghosts? Because I do. I mean, I don't necessarily believe that there's ghosts that's going to walk through the wall, whatever, like a Ghostbuster or something like that, or a Casper. Whatever. I don't think they're ghosts like in white sheets, or look like they're in white sheets, whatever. But I do believe that there are spiritual beings that at times they can be around you.
Hmm. Well, if I didn't have my constant encounters with them, I probably wouldn't believe in them. Um,
Okay. Um,
so I have to believe in them because of my encounters with them.
And when you say your encounters, are these people that you used to know?
Some of them, yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Because I do believe that people who have passed on, um, I do believe that there are people out there who leave signals or, little signs that they were here,
Hmm.
so, welcome, feisty one. But do you think ghosts exist in, I don't know if you want to say ghost or you want to say spirits. Um, do you think that they are the people who you knew, and that they do leave signs for you?
they visit me, and it's really annoying. Um, there's this one thing in particular that I think my great grandfather is leaving for me, and that's placing ladybugs in my immediate surrounding places where they probably shouldn't be. In the shower, or like in my bedroom, or um, that's the only signal thing that I think I can remember. But I get visits, not regularly, but ever so often, from relatives that have passed away, and like sometimes I can even see their silhouette. It's like a very, very faint glow, um, but due to their height and then the feeling and the flood of memories of whoever it is, that's how I know who it is.
Okay. All right. So Crucible is here. You've been popping in and out, so
Hey, Crucible.
you've been following the conversation. So Miss
Yeah,
Saba is
I
here.
hey Saba. Um, yeah, I mean the whole Saba's got a very metaphysical vibe going on here tonight, and I'm kind of in and out on following her, but I agree with a lot of what she's saying, um, and I agree with a lot of what you were saying about spirits. I don't have any experience, like Saba was saying. She's visited by spirits, people who have passed away, and whatever form that takes. I believe her. My sisters are believers in it. My mother passed away several years ago, and they pay attention to these things, and they'll say, "Well, there's a cardinal. That means mom is here, or that such and such is happening. So that means And I just kind of go, oh, okay. I don't disbelieve it. I believe that they believe it, and I think that's the most important thing. Belief. Does it have to be true? No, no. But I think the whole spiritual thing really depends on your belief in God and the afterlife. Um, I think most people believe in the afterlife, and I don't know if they believe in it, or the alternative is simply too bleak to contemplate. So we don't like to think of our loved ones sitting in an urn somewhere, or 6 feet underground, in the dead of winter someplace. That's a depressing thought. And then we think ahead, and that could be us someday. So a lot of people choose to believe in the afterlife or some form of it because the alternative is just not palatable. But all that matters is what you believe. If you believe it, then that's all that matters. As long as you're not, believing the moon is made of green cheese or crazy things like that. But there's enough proof, I think, for there to be a plausible premise to be laid down that spirits do exist. And sometimes I'm a person that needs empiricism. I need proof. But the spiritual is not going to give you proof. That's where belief comes in, or faith, if you will. And so that's at that point. I mean, you have to believe that whoever believes in it, if that's good enough for them, that's good enough for me.
All right. So Crucible, you were here, I think, when we were talking about end of days or whatever. Do you believe there is a such thing?
I'm sorry, say again.
Do you think there is a such thing as end of days or end of the world? Do you think there is a such thing?
I don't. You mean as a cataclysmic event?
Yep.
No, I don't. I don't see it that way. And again, if you want to go into it, it's either a biblical concept or it's an actual scientific concept where you get into the Big Bang theory and the world is going to end in some spectacular explosion. I don't follow either of those theories. I just again I go back to I like to have proof of things, and I'm not a researcher, so it's not like I've done exhaustive research and I've come back and said nope, you're wrong. I I just in my gut I don't think that's how God would choose to end the world. But if you were to ask me how I do think he would choose to end it, I don't think I would have an answer, but that seems very violent to me.
But
I have
don't
a
you think
question.
we're living in a violent society? I mean, the way we are now, don't you think that is violent?
Right, but God is benevolent. He's a benevolent God, and I think when you think about eternity, what does that really mean? And I'm not trying to get super deep here because I don't know the answer to that necessarily, but is eternity really what it sounds like? Is there such a thing? And I think this is maybe where you go in Solid. Is there such a thing as forever? And if it's not such a thing as forever, if it all blows up, what's left? You guys were saying earlier, we should tear it down. There's been all these resets throughout history, and I agree with you. But after each reset, the beginnings of the next phase were all started by human beings, by men and women who are fallible people. And so there needed to be another reset, and one after that, and one after that. So as long as the resets are going to be followed by people, human beings rebuilt, building something again, they're going to fuck it up again. Excuse my language. So there's always going to be resets as long as human beings are responsible for what comes after the reset.
So I'm trying to figure out how I'm trying to form the sentence. So I'm trying to get this together because I'm literally going to have to write it down. Sava, do you
Can
want
I
to
ask you a
answer,
question?
respond to Crucible? Because I literally have to write down what I want to say.
Well, okay, so I think that that something came into play that made it possible for us to get that bad. But I have a question to pose though. Do you believe in immortality?
As in, we'll never die?
No, not. I mean, not us per se, but do you think it's possible? Do you think that there could be an immortal being?
Yes, I think that immortal being is God.
Okay. So do you think that there could be another immortal being?
It's possible, but it's hard for me to get there, but it's possible.
Okay. What
So,
does
Crucible,
immortality
you want to
mean to you?
answer? I'm,
Okay, go
I'm,
ahead.
I'm,
Yep.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Saba.
No, go ahead, Crucible.
Yeah, I would agree with Solid. If there is such a thing as an immortal being, I would think that that would be God. I mean, it depends on what you say by immortal. When people say, "Well, I've been immortalized," that human beings say that they're usually referring to, "Well, I'm going to be remembered forever." But that's a physical human characterization of immortalization. You're talking about it in a more spiritual sense, and so are people immortal? Again, it depends on what your definition of spirituality is. I think our souls live on. So is that immortality? Because certainly from a physical standpoint, we don't live on. But if you believe in the soul living on, then yeah, I guess we do.
Do you think that there's possibly a humanoid like being uh, that is alive today and interacts or affects humanity?
I do not know. No, when you say humanoid, that would imply that's a person, right? A human being.
Or a person like type of being, or possibly an immortal human, or a human that lives for a really long time?
Well, again, I go back to what I said. I have not seen any. Do you have any evidence that that might be true?
Well, I mean, just so there are things that have been accomplished that I think would be impossible in the average lifespan of a human being. And there's technology that I think needed something to come along with knowledge, previous knowledge, to be able to implement into our into mankind and bring us to the point we are at today. There has to be something superhuman, is what I'm saying. There must be.
So let me ask this, and this is to both of you. Some people believe in the Bible and think that Adam and Eve were the first ones here. Some people believe dinosaurs were the first ones here. Who do you think inhabited this planet? I'm just talking about the Earth. Who do you think was here first, or what was here first?
I think that there were, I guess, beings that one would probably call an angel today, and they were immortal.
Okay,
And
but that goes back to the Bible that there were angels here, and then Lucifer had a falling out with God, and he, for lack of a better term, kicked him out of heaven, whatever. So now you have your good and evil. But then again, if you believe in Greek mythology, then you have people like Zeus and what have you. So who or what was here first?
well, I think that we are a product of some kind of perversion, like something that wasn't supposed to happen happened and then created mortal beings that could reproduce itself. And that's what we are.
Okay.
And so you heard about the mythology of the nine-headed monster?
Yes. Wait, is it nine? That's oh, I'm trying to think of the name because Hercules, if I'm correct, you're talking about the one that Hercules defeated.
Not sure. I don't know if I can connect it to Hercules. I haven't, I guess,
Okay, no, because I'm
learned
thinking
about it enough.
Greek mythology, and Hercules had to defeat this particular what was the name of it? Started with an M, I do believe. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Crucible, do you have anything to add?
No, I'm not super familiar with the the difference or the similarities between the theory of evolution and good and evil and the Bible and whatnot. I believe that God evolved from apes. I that's what I've been taught, and I've done some research on it. I think that's where, I mean, God created us, obviously, but I think that's what is provable in my world, in the world of science. I understand what you're saying, Saba, that you think there was maybe an immortal humanoid, a combination of, I don't know, there's a hybrid of a human being and somebody immortal that has some jurisdiction or some control over over the universe. I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I mean that's or Solid's mouth. That's where I would sort of believe how we began. That's just what is available information wise, and I don't hear a whole lot to the contrary, except from people who choose to want to do some research and come up with some alternate theories, which I completely respect. But the widespread belief is what I think, who I just said, whether it's true or not. That's what I believe.
So you believe that we've evolved, and sounds like Solid Balloon, correct me if I'm wrong, you believe that we've devolved.
I think we are devolving. Yes, only because of the state of the world. Yes.
Do you guys believe in giants? That they once walked Earth?
I think that's possible because if you have dinosaurs that were 20, 30 feet tall, then there's a possibility that there was a giant that matched the size of a dinosaur. I mean, I think that's possible.
All right. What about you, Crucible?
Oh, I think it's absolutely possible. Yeah, I mean, I think that's completely within the realm of. I mean, again, I just because we were taught it in our history books, and I grew up reading these things in my history books in school. I know doesn't necessarily mean it's true. It should mean that it's true, but I know there's some things that are a little bit stretched in as far as what or romanticized when they're teaching about the very beginnings of the world. And everybody knows dinosaurs, and it's a very convenient thing for kids to think, oh, these are things that were a long time ago, and they relate to the images, but without really understanding the history of it. But yeah, I believe the the dinosaurs. I totally believe they rule the world, and I believe the evolution of mankind. Obviously, that's been fairly widely written. It's not a unique theory to me. The evolution of mankind is what made the dinosaurs extinct, and why every other society since then have replaced the other society because they became in a way extinct. So that's kind of my very loosely stitched together theory of evolution there.
So would you say that that the prehistoric civilization was reset or saw their end of days?
Yes, I would. Yes, I would say that. Yes, for sure. Yeah, I think every every culture, every society going back to the Roman Empire, they have their Waterloo, if you will, not to borrow from another reset. Uh, there's always a reckoning because governments and people get cocky, and when people get cocky, they get comfortable, and then they stop paying attention, and then somebody comes along who's paying attention. So I think resets are built into us as human beings, um, and societies and governments, because that's this human nature, and eventually somebody in something is going to replace us because we all become extinct at some point.
Where in the Bible does it talk about giants and dinosaurs?
As far as I know, it doesn't.
I don't know that does either, but can't. So you're saying that unless it's in the Bible, I mean, there's a
No,
lot
I'm
of
not
things about
saying that.
history that are not in the Bible.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just putting things into perspective as I'm getting to my point. Okay, so, or as I'm, talking my point. So, why do you think the Egyptians went through so much trouble to build the Sphinx and stuff like that, or any civilization that built a giant monument of a half human, half something else, and the hieroglyphics and statues and all of that? Why do you think they would go through so much trouble?
But you had, but people, okay, you have like the Romans and what have you, and the Egyptians. I mean, they worshipped, for the lack of a better word, false gods. I mean, they worshiped, statues and beings. I mean, those are the things that they believe. I mean, you have people who worship Buddha. So I see those monuments, as a, Sphinx, and some of these other things. Those are just monuments that they worshiped, and they made them really big just so they could last throughout time. So their story could be told, and thousands of years later, their story is still being told.
Um, so, like in the Greek mythology, it talks about Zeus and Hercules and all these, what are they called, deities, or what are they called, like godlike beings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were, I believe they were described as much larger than we are, but they were humanized in the stories. Um, so either to me, it's like either the Bible and a lot of religion is false and is used as a form of manipulation on us, or there's something that was and possibly still is today too, immortal and running the show. And I think that our idea of God, it's not God. I believe that we've been misled with that, but with things that are happening and things that have come into play, I believe that there has to be something that has knowledge that we could never have unless we were taught this knowledge or lived through it to know how to create digital devices and amongst other things.
But don't you think? But see, and this is where I think that God comes into play. That He gave man the the um the tools to become doctors and nurses and scientists and pilots and whatever. He made it possible for, if you need a transplant, that you have a surgeon who's able to do it. I believe that that person is God. I mean, that's just what I mean. I just believe that there is a God and He is that spiritual being.
Do you think God created or allowed some of us to have the knowledge necessary to create problems for our health, therefore needing the use of medical things like that?
Yes. Yes. If you want to take it down that road, I believe that God gave these doctors and scientists the ability. I mean, if you're, I assume you're going down the vaccine route, but I believe that God again gave, that you were able to, that He gave us doctors and nurses to create vaccines, to create serums, to, like I said, to do surgeries, to fix broken legs. I believe that He did that. And I think that He gave us the tools to do things that are right, to do things that are good. What man decides to do with this, because I also believe that God gave us free will. So He could give us the ability to do it, but what we choose to do with that is our choice. So if He gave us, that's just like saying, okay, I'm giving you a gun. You can either use it to protect yourself, or if you're living in the wild and you use it to go, shoot a deer because you have to eat, as opposed to me giving you that gun and you make the conscious choice of going into a movie theater and you shoot everyone. I believe that He gave us the choice, but what we choose to do with it is our choice.
Well, and I agree with you, Solid, totally. And don't forget, God created us. And when He created us, He knew He was creating fallibility. If you want to look at God, we're created in God's image. If He created us, He knew the fallibility that He was I shouldn't say injecting, but that He was infusing in us when He made us who we are. So when we make mistakes and we do things, I don't think God is surprised. I don't think God is disappointed. I think He's like a parent in a lot of ways. He's hopeful that we'll do the right thing because that's what the Bible taught us, or our parents taught us. But He knows that, aside from our parents didn't, create us, quote, quote, they made us, but they didn't create us. And so God, I mean, I think we kind of misjudge that part of it a little bit, because doesn't He expect us to screw up?
So, okay, well, let me just kind of answer your question in a roundabout kind of way. But first, I'd like to ask a question. Do you believe that nature complements itself?
I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but I think in certain ways it probably does. I mean, that's kind of the nature of nature, no pun intended.
Do you think that we're part of nature?
Yes.
Okay. Um, do you think that we were given free will after the fact of our creation, or do you think it came along with our creation?
I don't, I obviously I don't know the answer to that, but my opinion would be that it came along with our creation, and that's the piece I kind of missed there with solid. God did give us free will, and He gave us choice. So that's where the fallibility thing comes in. Is it possible we could go through our entire lives without committing a sin or being fallible in God's eyes? Theoretically, I suppose it's possible. Practically, no, it's not possible. And He knew that. So the free will thing is where He says, I've created you in this way. However, the world is full of all kinds of options, and you can pick any one you want. And to a certain extent, you're on your own after that.
And see, and that's why I think that that's where for me, that's where the disappointment comes in. That's where I think that God is disappointed because He's given us so many chances to do things that are right. And we made the conscious choice to do things differently. When the bomb was dropped on I think it was Nagasaki, was it Hiroshima first? Um, an American, usually us, made the arrogant comment that the Japanese deserved it. But then another American told this person, well, one day we're all going to have bombs and we're all going to be dropping bombs. And that's where we are. We are now at a state where everybody has a bomb, everybody's threatening the other person. And I think that God is, I personally, I just see Him as just this spiritual being who is just looking down or wherever He is, and He just has such a sense of disappointment that He gave us this world and humans are messing it up, whereas you have these animals, that are, being abused and killed and shot for no reason. But yet, you know humans, again, we're walking around, we're pompous, whatever, and we're like, oh yeah, but that's why I think that one day God's just gonna blow it up. I have been fortunate in my lifetime to see the first of certain things, but I do believe that I will be around if God decides to end it. I just think that
Okay. Well, do you think he ever will? Honestly.
he'll end everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I do. I mean, the book of Revelations pretty much says it. I mean, I do believe that he will. It just depends on when. And I think that I may be around in my lifetime to see that when.
So, what if there was an immortal being that made us but isn't God that we think of? And because we do get out of hand, has to restart civilization to get it under control. How far-fetched is that?
Can you repeat that last part? How far
Um,
fetched is?
how far-fetched is it that there's an immortal being or beings that did create us for the purpose of whatever they needed us, what jobs they needed us to do here, or for whatever they use us for. that created, the religions and all that, and has to restart civilization every so often because we do get out of hand. How far-fetched is that?
I'm going to say that, okay, put it like this. I believe anything is possible, but I still have to come back to the Bible. I believe that the person who created life, and humans and everything that as we know it is God. And that's the God from the Bible. No matter what version of the Bible you read, because I know that there are different ones. I actually prefer the King James version. But I just, believe that he created heaven and earth and everything that we have. I think he gave us all abilities to do certain things. I believe that he put us all on this earth to do certain things. But he is the creator. So that's, I believe that.
So
And I know I'm not really
ultimately,
answering your question, but that's that's how far I can go.
that's okay. But ultimately, what does what does mankind do ultimately as a whole? Like at the end of the day, what have we done?
Well, it would be hopeful that we did something good.
No. Up until this point, what do you see? What can you look back on? Like, what has humanity as a whole ultimately done?
I see humanity as a whole as where we are now, where the world is now, that for the most part we have screwed each other over uh, to the point where we're at a point of no return. I do believe along the way we had good people who tried to turn things around, but I think of where we are now as a people, um, I think we're messed up.
Okay, why do you think that is?
I just said that. Because of just the way we have treated uh just the way we have treated each other. If you look at history, if you look at the true history of not just America but of this world, it is a bunch of people screwing each other over, and we've done it since the beginning of time. um you had uh Adam and Eve. You had Abel and um who was Abel's brother? Sorry, I got so many things going on. I'm reading so many
Cain.
different things. Cain. You had Cain and Abel. Cain kills Abel because he's jealous. He thinks God's treating his brother better, so he kills his brother. He runs away. You have Eve giving Adam the apple. It's just been since the beginning of time. We have just been screwing each other over. And again,
But
when Noah, when Noah got on that boat with two by two, that was the first reset where it was like, okay, I'm giving you all another chance. I'm about to wipe everybody out, because I do believe that God really did wipe everyone out and he started over.
but don't you think on some level there's a primal, and I'm stretching it a little bit here, but a primal survival instinct? I mean, if you look back on some of the, I've seen them online. I remember seeing them as a kid in school. They would show you these films where you see these spiders or these critters or whatever, and they'd put them down in a hole, and they would try to get out, and they would be, some of them would be pulling the others back to get ahead of them so they can get out ahead of them. So, and these were critters or creatures, spiders, whatever they were, And I remember thinking, that's not that much. This was back in grammar school. I was probably 12 years old, and I remember thinking, that's almost a metaphor for humanity. What is it about us that we either can't stand to see somebody getting ahead of us, or we don't care as long as we survive the scrum, as it were. So, I mean, we're not that much different from every other organism out there,
Now,
are we?
see, I have to disagree, because I think that animals are more intelligent than we are. They do things for survival. We do things out of greed. We will. I mean, it is being proven right now. You're going to take out an entire country, or little country, whatever, kill how many people just because you want it? Seriously? You're not happy with what you have, but you got to go next door and take my house too? I mean, animals don't
No,
do
but
that.
if you think that's part of your survival, then that's what if you think you need to take that person's house.
If no one is okay, but if my neighbor is not messing with me, yeah, they may piss me off because they don't cut their grass, or their dog may do their business on my lawn. But am I going to take out the entire family? Come on, come on.
No,
And that is what man does. That this is what we do.
So
go ahead, Saba.
are you saying that, so are humans inherently good or bad?
That's a good question.
Cruz, will you want to answer that, or I will go, or
I don't want to take the middle ground here, but obviously I think the answer is both. I think they're inherently good, but they're certainly capable of bad. I don't think we would have gotten to this point in our world, our society, if humankind was not inherently good. You need good people to do what we've done as a society, as effed up as it can be. So yeah, I think we are inherently good with infinite capability of bad.
Okay.
So, Saba, let me ask this. Well, I'm sorry, Cruz. I think you had another question.
No, I did not. No, I did not know. Sorry.
Okay. Saba, do you, or Crucible, do you believe in miracles?
What's a miracle?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in, but yes, I do. And the reason that I'm interested in miracles is because, as we talk about, and I'm interested in Sava's input on this, just because she's given so much thought to spirituality and God, and why we're here and why things happen. What triggered my thought on miracles, I was reading something online, and I saw this video. It was from Japan, I think, or maybe it was Argentina, and this woman had a seizure or something happened, and she pitched forward. She was in a subway station, and she pitched forward, and she didn't. The train was pulling into the station at a very high rate of speed. She pitched forward so much that she fell between the platform and the train, to where everybody on the platform just thought this woman is dead. And that's what I thought. I mean, this woman's got to look like, she's got to look like sausage right now. It was horrifying to watch. And not only did she live, they just picked her up off the tracks, and she got on the fucking train. So, I mean, it looked horrific. This woman should have been dead by all accounts, but she lived. And there's myriad examples of this all across. You see these things all the time, but this was particularly stunning to me, because this woman there's no way she should have lived. And that made me think, was that a miracle? Or was that just, this woman was just living right? good fortune. She said her prayers that day. Right place, wrong time, wrong place, right time. In the spiritual sense of things, is it just living right, or did a miracle occur?
So
Are
what
you
exactly constitutes a miracle, though?
Something that by all rights and logic and reason and what we're our frame of reference for reality, it goes against all of those things. There's no possible way this could have happened.
okay? So, Crucible, do you think that that could have been divine intervention?
Isn't that the same as a miracle?
Well, divine intervention to me would say that maybe God came in there and,
Well, I thought God was in charge of miracles. I'm not trying to be smart. That's what I thought a miracle was. I thought it was God.
no, yeah,
Okay, well
yeah, but I'm
that's what
just
I
saying,
wanting to know.
okay, all
Like
right. So you
like
have, okay.
what
So
determines
I just,
like
I'm sorry, Sab. I just wanted to know
okay.
when I said God, I just wanted to know if Crucible was on the same track with divine intervention. So, Saba, do you believe in divine intervention?
If there was ever divine intervention, it was with the creation of existence. It was the existential origin, the beginning of life.
Okay, let me ask this. You may not remember this, but about 30 years ago, I want to say it was probably about 30 years ago, there was an airline that crashed, and one little baby survived. I mean, literally, it crashed. I mean, it blew up everything. Is that divine intervention or a miracle, or how did this one little baby survive?
I don't believe that, no. I
So you
believe
don't.
in a very great outcome for that baby, I guess. But I
So
don't
you
think
don't you
it
don't
had
think
anything to
that
do
there
with
was
God.
someone there or something, a miracle or something that protected this child, and for whatever reason this baby was the only one that survived?
No, I don't. I think that is kind of a hindsight bias,
Okay.
or like a, I don't know what else you would call it, but
Okay.
I think that's just
Well,
a yeah.
okay. Well, to both you and Crucible, the definition of a miracle, or one of them, a surprising and welcome event that is not um, explicable by natural or scientific laws and is therefore considered to be the work of a divine agency, or a highly improbable or extraordinary event, development, or accomplishment that brings very welcome consequences.
Yeah, and I think it probably just maybe boils down to what your belief in God is, because that definition just fit what you just said about divine intervention. Either you believe, if you don't believe in God, then you would not attribute anything like I just described with that woman in the train. You wouldn't attribute it to a miracle. You would
That's not
attribute
true.
it to that. Well, I'm sorry, Saab. Okay, go ahead.
I think that there are people who believe in God, they're not religious, and they wouldn't attribute it to a miracle.
I'm sorry.
What
Say
happened to
one
that
more time.
lady, for example? I believe that there are people who believe in God, but don't follow religion, and would not say that that woman surviving her fall was a miracle.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm sure that's probably true. So you would think that they would just say that was her lucky day, and she was, that was just she. If we have 9 lives, she just used up one of them. Is that sort of the thinking there? Because otherwise, the only thing, if you don't believe it was a divine intervention, you got to go with luck,
Or coincidence.
right?
She just happened to fall into the right place at just the right time to survive her seizure and falling in there.
So is that the same as saying it wasn't her time?
How about this? If somebody had their head smashed and was dead, and suddenly the head was unsmashed, all of a sudden they were alive, I would call that a miracle. Like
Okay.
something that truly was inexplicable, truly inexplicable. Because just because you didn't see something or understand how it happened doesn't mean it can't be scientifically explained. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah. All right. I see what you're saying. All right. Excuse me. I guess I go back to what you choose. I mean, a lot of people who are so inclined, if they're very religious, they attribute almost everything to the power of God. They may or may not be right. They may be right half the time. It's like flip a coin. Um, there's there's an old saying: a broken clock is right twice a day. So you can attribute a lot of things to God, and you'll be right a lot, and you'll be wrong a lot. So it just depends on what you want to believe, what your belief system is. And I think you make a good point, Sally. You can believe in God and not necessarily believe in miracles. So that's a takeaway.
Well, I am going to start wrapping this up because we are almost at the 2 hour mark. So, as I usually do either one of you all want to, any last words that you would like to impart?
Crucible?
Crucible, you
I
want to start?
yeah,
She give me the mic.
I always find these conversations fascinating. Saab always has a very unique perspective and sometimes esoteric points of view that I find fascinating, and that's a very big compliment to you, Sava. But you bring up some really good points about spirituality and people's belief systems, and what we choose to believe and what we choose to attribute things to, and just the nature of people. And I never come away from these conversations without something to think about. So I enjoyed it.
All right. Thank you. And yes.
Sava?
Yeah. So um, I have my own set of beliefs, that are a lot different from a lot of other people's. And I've learned my lesson on just blurting things out. Because I don't want to step on anyone's, beliefs or make them feel that they're wrong or make them think that I think they're wrong or anything like that. But I think that, you know, go living your life by the guide of the Bible, um, you know, could be maybe pulled toned down a little bit for a lot of people, like maybe in moderation. So you say, I think that people get so attached to this, and then they make certain decisions in life that affect others that do not have good outcomes. And I think it's because a lot of Christians, for example, are under the so many beliefs that just don't fit in with humanity and the nature of humanity. So I think that if I were to request anything from Christians in particular, because that seems to be the biggest religion that at least affects my life, I would ask them to just maybe rethink some things. Maybe when they're reading the Bible or quoting the Bible or abiding by the Bible, maybe thinking a little bit deeper about some aspects of it, um, especially before they go imposing their beliefs or making decisions that affect others, um, um, and stuff like that. Just considering other things and considering that perhaps the Bible was um, if not, all the way written, but perhaps changed over time and used to manipulate people. And I think that we can all remember at least one moment in our lives where somebody weaponized the Bible against another person. So that's all I would request for that. And also, stop feeding your children candy. It's child abuse.
Okay. This has been a show. It started off with talking about candy, and it evolved into the Bible and world wars and a bunch of other things. But for me, again, I always have to come back to the Bible. I I just do. I believe in God. I believe that He is the maker and creator of all things. But I also think, even though He is a forgiving God, I think that, there's just a disappointment that He has. And I think that man has shown over and over and over again for thousands and thousands of years that we just can't get it right. And animals, again, they need to be at the top of the food chain because they're unfortunately at our mercy, and we need to take a couple of lessons from them. So again, I know everyone doesn't always like to hear the term agree to disagree. Maybe some of us have learned something, from each other. But Saba and Crucible and everyone else here, you all know how my show is. I respect what everyone says, and no one comes in here disrespecting anyone else. And you can speak your mind. Saba, you want to say something else?
I greatly appreciate that. Having a voice and being uninterrupted and also being listened to. It's really great. I love how you provide a structured environment for discussion. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So with that, guys, that is it. As I'm going to say my usual going out thing, do not laugh, go where the wind takes you. And this is my Friday night music. I changed it up. So on that note, have a good weekend, everyone. Bye. You're welcome, Saba. Thank you, Crucible, Feisty One, Shy Lady. Frankie, thank you for staying and listening. And GP Man was here earlier, as was Scooter and Alpha Mike. Thank you. And Frankie, thank you for the gift, and everyone, thank you for liking the show. I do appreciate it. Trying to get up to that level 5. And Shy Lady, thank you for hanging out and listening. So you guys either hang out with me and listen to the rest of the music, or again, have a good weekend. And Saba, this episode may have been a little bit too deep for my afternoon show. For my afternoon crowd. Okay, everybody, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye.